All right, welcome back. Hope you're all having a great week. If you are preparing for finals, I wish you the best of luck. Otherwise, let's continue with our RBT practice question series where we're going through some RBT practice questions and breaking them down together. If you're looking for our proven study materials, please check out rbtexamreview.com. We offer 3 practice exams, a task list study guide, combo pack, which comes with everything, and of course, our competency study guide as well. Please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Congratulations to everyone who recently passed their exam. Let us know when you pass so we can include you in our Sunday shoutouts. Other than that, keep working hard, keep studying hard, and let's get to our questions. Question 1. Every night is a fight to get your daughter changed and ready for school. Even though she has shown she is capable, you always give her verbal and physical prompts to dress herself, prepare her breakfast, and pack her backpack. If you are not around, she will not complete any of these tasks. The daughter is most likely going through what? All right, so we're going to start attacking questions. Remember, that's how we're approaching the exam. We're not on defense, we're going to attack the questions. And when we attack the question, it means we are really going to understand what the question is asking and the most important pieces of the question. So we're focused on the daughter here. So every night, the daughter gets changed, ready for school. She's capable, which is very important to know, but you always give her prompts to dress herself, prepare breakfast, and pack her backpack. Well, if she won't complete any of these tasks without prompts, but we know she is capable, what does that sound like to you? Is that A, a skill deficit? A skill deficit would imply she's unable to complete these tasks. In the question, though, it says she is capable. That's why it's important that we get all the important information from the question. We can't skip this piece and jump straight to the prompts. She is capable. It is not a skill deficit. It is, however, a prompt dependency. If we have to give her prompts to get her to do things she knows how to do, but she won't do it without prompts, then she is absolutely starting to become or already dependent on prompts. Is it a failure to generalize? Well, we're not looking at generalization here, right? We're looking at this home, the specific environment. We're not worried about generalization in this case. And then, is this an extinction burst? Are we putting anything on extinction? No. We're talking about prompting and having to prompt for a known skill and the daughter being reliant on the skill, making her be reliant on prompts, or in other words, she is going through prompt dependency. Which of the following strategies specifically promotes behavioral momentum? Okay, there's a very specific strategy we use that targets behavior momentum. And behavior momentum is an actual term we use in ABA. So what strategy do we use to try to increase behavior momentum? Prompt fading. Do we use prompt fading to promote behavioral momentum? No. When we're fading prompts, we're trying to remove the cues and assistance. So we're transferring stimulus control, basically. But we're not necessarily looking at any sort of behavior momentum here. What about reinforcement schedule thinning? Well, in a lot of cases, thinning a schedule doesn't necessarily increase momentum. Sometimes we can even experience ratio strain, right, which is pretty much the opposite of behavior momentum. Remember, behavior momentum meaning we're trying to increase the rate of behavior or the magnitude of behavior, how often behavior is happening, right? Reinforcement schedule thinning doesn't always accomplish that. What about high P, low P sequencing? So high P, low P sequencing, you might know it as high probability request sequence, high P, low P, high probability, low probability. Okay, they're all interchangeable. But the idea here is we are giving a lot of high probability requests, things like touch your nose, tell me your name, things the client knows how to do and that will do willingly. And then we're going to follow that with one low probability request. So something that they might not actively do or know or might be challenging for them. The idea is with a high probability request, we're building up this momentum. And as we build momentum, as we get the behavior rolling, we are more likely to see the low probability behavior evoked. That's the entire idea behind high P, low P, high probability request sequencing, however you want to refer to it. High P, low P is focused on behavior momentum. And then Premack principle. I see a lot of people mix these two up, the Premack principle and high P, low P. Here's the difference. Premack principle, you are using a preferred, usually activity as a reinforcer for a non-preferred activity, meaning it's basically a contingency. It's also referred to as grandma's law. If you sweep the floor, you get to eat ice cream. That's the pre-mac principle. Engage in the low probability behavior, earn the preferred reinforcer or preferred activity. High P, low P, we're trying to get all these high probability behaviors evoked first in order to get the low probability behavior to come out. So make sure we understand the difference between pre-mac principle and high P, low P. High P, low P is what focuses on behavior momentum. So to answer the question C, high P, low P sequencing. Select the correct order of the contingency below. Okay, so the contingency we are referring to here is ABC, right? Antecedent behavior consequence, or SRS if you want to get more technical. But as an RBT, you're going to know it as ABC. Our antecedents, our behaviors are consequences. Antecedents come right before behavior. Behavior happens, consequence follows the behavior. So clearly, all of our antecedents need to come before our consequence. So which one is automatically wrong here? Well, if we look at C, we have an MO-SD consequence prompt. Don't make this mistake. A prompt is an antecedent, okay? The prompt does not follow the response. It does not follow the consequence. A prompt follows the SD. A prompt is considered a temporary SD. Remember, it is that. So it comes in between the SD and the consequence. It is not a consequence in itself. It is an antecedent. So C is going to be wrong. If we look at A, we have SD, we have a discriminative stimuli, motivating operation, prompt, consequence. This is wrong because the motivating operation comes before the SD. The correct order is an MO, an SD, a prompt, and then a consequence. Why is D wrong? Because we have an SD, MO, prompt, consequence, right? Same as A. So we duplicated those answers. Regardless, the correct order of the contingency is going to be B, MO, SD, prompt, consequence. The most important thing to remember here is that an MO comes before an SD, and a prompt comes after the SD before the consequence. Which of the following examples best represents the measurement of duration? What do we know about duration? We know duration is a continuous measurement. We know it's the extent of something. So how long something lasts. And when we're dealing with time, we can deal with duration, how long something lasts. We can deal with latency, the time in between an SD and a response. We can deal with IRT, time in between responses. You need to know the difference between those three, okay, and be able to identify what you're looking for. Here, we're looking for duration. So we're looking for like a total extent or total time of something. So A, after reading a text from your boss, you think for 10 minutes before typing your response. What does this sound like? We just said one of those is the time in between the SD and the response. To me, this sounds like latency. You get a text, which is the SD. 10 minutes passes, then the response starts. SD to response, we're looking at latency in A. B, world eating champion Joey Chestnut ate 30 hot dogs per minute at the hot dog eating contest. All right, what are we looking at here? Well, we're looking at a count, right? 30. And then we're adding a time. Count over time is what? Rate. Here, we're looking at Joey Chestnut's rate of eating hot dogs, which is 30 hot dogs per minute. Not his duration, not how long it took him to eat the hot dogs, not how long it took him to eat one hot dog. We're looking at the count over a time, which is rate. Then C, class last night went 15 minutes longer than usual. Okay, here we have a total time, right? Class usually lasts 3 hours. Last night it went 15 minutes longer. What duration did it go over? 15 minutes. C is obviously duration. D, every 2 minutes your dog barks at the birds outside. 2 minutes in between barking, 2 minutes in between responses. The time in between responses is considered what? That's going to be our inter-response time, or IRT. So again, A is latency. B is rate. D is inter-response time. C is duration. It's a really good question to test your knowledge of measurement. If you were able to identify each type of measurement, good for you. That means you're on the right track. If not, go back, look at the study guide, review continuous measurement, and come back. As practitioners of behavior analysis, what should we ask ourselves when deciding how to act ethically towards our clients and stakeholders? So this is more of a broad ethics philosophy. What guides ABA ethics and where they get all of their ethical stuff from? These are the three questions we ask ourselves as behavior analysts. And why are we going over this as an RBT or an RBT exam? Because it's important you know what guides us ethically. And they could very well ask some questions related to this on the exam. So, what should we ask ourselves when deciding how to act ethically toward clients? Do we need to ask ourselves what is the right thing to do? Absolutely. If you're ever in a conundrum or a pickle or a situation where you have to choose from multiple options, ask yourself, what is the right thing to do in this situation? Most of us are morally strong people. We know what right and wrong is. We can choose the right thing to do. Should we ask ourselves what is worth doing? Yes, behavior change is very serious. We can really impact people's lives. We shouldn't be targeting behaviors that have no meaning or hold little value. So, what is worth doing? And then C, what does it mean to be a good behavior analytic practitioner? You should ask yourself that every time you go in as an RBT. What does it mean today to be a good practitioner of ABA? How can I be better? How can I better myself? All these questions are what you should ask yourself as an RBT, not only ethically, right, but as we deliver services. Sometimes it's not just about knowing the technical terms and language, it's understanding your responsibility as an RBT in the field of ABA. So, what should we ask ourselves? What is the right thing to do? What is worth doing? And what does it mean to be a good behavior analytic practitioner? So, our answer here is going to be D, all the above. First time you meet a client's parent, they show you a toy chest filled to the top with a variety of stimuli. The parent is unsure what does and doesn't reinforce the client. If you wanted to figure out what stimuli serves as a reinforcer, what would be the best way to do that? Ask yourselves, how do we determine if something is reinforcing? Well, we know reinforcement or reinforcers increase behavior. So first things first, we want the stimuli to increase behavior. But even more simple than that, if it's going to be a reinforcer, it needs to affect behavior. So we're going to look for the stimuli. And if we're going to figure out if it's a reinforcer, we need to look at how does it affect the behavior, if at all. In this toy chest, there could be several stimuli that the client likes, that prefers, but has no effect on the behavior. That's not a reinforcer to us. To determine a reinforcer, determine a punisher, look at how it impacts the behavior. So A, conduct a preference assessment with the client using all the stimuli. It's a good first step, but does preference assessment determine reinforcers? No, it determines potential reinforcers. Preference assessments only determine what a client likes, doesn't like. It's on the right track to getting reinforcers, but we still need to take it a step further and see how do those stimuli actually affect the behavior. So B, observe if the stimuli changes the client's behavior. Yes. If the stimuli start changing the client's behavior, okay, we can consider them a reinforcer or punisher. Now, the question asks specifically about reinforcer, so it would be nice if this said observe if the stimuli increases client's behavior, but it doesn't. However, so far B is still our best answer, and we're looking for the best answer. Can we find a better one? C, ask the client what they like and don't like. Again, that's just a preference assessment. That's not going to tell us anything about the reinforcing behavior change properties of the stimuli. And then D, ask the client what they consider reinforcing. It doesn't matter what the client considers reinforcing. Talk is cheap, right? We want to see it in action. Whatever's changing that behavior, that's what we're going to choose as a reinforcer / punisher. So if we wanted to figure out what stimuli serves as a reinforcer, we need to observe if the stimuli changes the client's behavior. A child is able to gain his brother's attention by screaming at him, hitting him, and tapping him on the shoulder. These three behaviors are considered blank. Okay, a little harder question. We have three behaviors here: screaming, hitting, and tapping. What are these behaviors doing? What's the function? Gaining attention, right? All three serve the same purpose. All three produce the same change in the environment. So when you have three responses, or however many responses that produce the same change in the environment, regardless of how they look, you have a response class. So these three responses, okay, all produce the same function, change environment. They're considered a response class. A stimulus class is a set of stimuli. We're not looking at a set of stimuli here. We're looking at responses. These aren't consequences, right? These are behaviors. We know ABC. Okay, they're behaviors, not consequences. And are they topographically similar? Well, what is topography? Topography tells us how the behavior looks. Is screaming, hitting, and tapping all the same? Do they look all the same? No. Three very different behaviors, functionally equivalent, right? That's why they're a response class. They all evoke the same function, but they don't look the same. They don't even have to be a response class, as long as they all evoke the same change or they all produce the same change in environment and serve the same function. These three behaviors are considered a response class. The plan or rule that dictates or tells you when to deliver reinforcement is considered the what? Don't overthink this, right? What plan or rule tells us when to deliver reinforcement? Well, a reinforcement schedule, right? BR1, FR1, FR2 is the plan that's going to tell you deliver reinforcement now. Don't overthink it. Not an antecedent schedule. Doesn't exist. Not a response schedule. We're not talking about prompting here. We're talking about reinforcement. Very clear, right? The plan or rule that dictates or tells you when to deliver reinforcement. It's going to be a reinforcement schedule. Again, don't overthink these type of questions. All right. Which of the following answer choices describes a behavior topographically? Okay, back to topographically. Again, what is topographically? It's describing how it looks. So if you get a question that asks you what describes a behavior topographically, try to pick the answer that gives the most description of how something looks. We're not too worried about the function here. If we're just describing it topographically, the function doesn't even matter. But we're really just worried about how it looks. So A, every time you put broccoli on your son's plate, he swipes the plate so he doesn't have to eat the broccoli. What is this describing? This is describing a function, right? He's trying to escape the broccoli. Swipes is a very basic topographical definition. You would have to further define swipes to really get a topographical definition. A is not very strong. B, Martha engages in self-stimulatory behavior when no one is around him. That is clearly functional, right? An automatic function, not topographical. C, Jessica will ball her fist up and make contact with Pierre's arms and legs by swinging her arms side to side. Okay, now that we see it, it's pretty clear which one describes topography, right? We're very clear on what this looks like. Ball fist up, swing arms side to side, make contact with Pierre's arms and legs. Very clear definition of topography. C is going to be our answer. Okay, hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Check out rbtexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Any questions, let me know. Work hard, study hard. See you soon.